Imagine this. Within 72 hours, the world tittered on the edge of nuclear annihilation. Missiles flew, drones exploded, air bases shook, and the threat of nuclear war wasn't just whispered. It was declared, broadcasted, and seriously considered by two nuclear-armed neighbors, India and Pakistan. What happened in May 2025 wasn't just another border skirmish. It was the closest the subcontinent has come to a nuclear confrontation since 1999 and arguably ever. This is the story of how the sheer cold terror of nuclear war forced India and Pakistan into a ceasefire, not out of goodwill but pure survival. Hello, my name is Tejas and you're watching Lokmat Times. In this video, we will discuss how fear of all-out nuclear war forced a ceasefire between India and Pakistan. But before that, please subscribe to our channel for all credible news and press the bell icon to never miss an update. It began with blood. On April 22, 2025, a brutal terror attack rocked Pahalgam, a tourist haven in Jammu and Kashmir. India blamed Pakistan-based terror group Lashkar-e-Taiba. Emotions soared. The Indian government, already under political pressure, vowed retaliation. And retaliate they did. Within days, Indian jets targeted terror camps across the line of control in Pakistan. Pakistan responded with missile fire near Indian military installations. What followed was the most intense military exchange since the Kargil War. But this time, both sides had modernized nuclear arsenals, and both weren't afraid to hint at using them. India and Pakistan are among the world's few nuclear-armed rivals. India follows a no-first-use policy. It won't strike unless struck first. Pakistan, on the other hand, keeps its nuclear posture ambiguous, reserving the right to strike first if it feels threatened. That ambiguity has always been a calculated gamble, but in May 2025, it became a trigger for global panic. After India targeted Pakistan's Noor Kha air base dangerously close to Pakistan's Strategic Plans Division, which controls its nuclear command, alarms went off in Islamabad. US officials described the situation as hair trigger. One misread radar signal, one missile close to nuclear bunker, and the consequences could have been apocalyptic. Pakistan didn't just prepare for escalation, it advertised it. On May 9th, Pakistan's Prime Minister called an emergency meeting of the National Command Authority, the elite group responsible for nuclear decision-making in that country. Although its defense minister claimed nuclear use was not imminent, he publicly added, "The nuclear option hasn't been ruled out." That statement was no accident. It was a psychological missile aimed both at India and the world. India, for its part, did not respond in kind but intensified conventional strikes, pushing the envelope without going nuclear. But how close were they to crossing the line? According to US intelligence leaks reported by the New York Times, both countries had activated protocols for strategic deterrence. In simple words, nukes were on alert. For the United States, this was nightmare scenario. President Donald Trump intervened personally. His Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, activated emergency diplomacy channels with Saudi Arabia, the UK and the UAE. Their goal? Cool the temperature before nuclear pot boiled over. One major concern, Pakistan might use civilian air corridors as human shields for nuclear movements, a trick that, if exposed, could prompt India to strike nuclear assets preemptively. This forced Washington's hand. According to reports from India Today, Trump's team pressured both countries with intelligence disclosures, essentially warning them, "We know what you're doing, back off." Despite the global panic, India continued to strike with surgical precision. 3 Pakistani air bases were hit by Indian missiles according to Reuters, but none were deep inside Pakistani territory. All were calibrated to avoid full-scale retaliation. It was India's version of war under the nuclear threshold, a strategic doctrine that seeks to inflict damage without inviting doomsday. Pakistan, however, felt the heat closing in. The Noor Kha strike shook them. Had India gone a few kilometers deeper, it might have triggered Pakistan's nuclear red line. That was the turning point. Neither side wanted to appear weak. Both had domestic political compulsions, but something deeper cut through the bravado: existential fear. Military advisors in both Delhi and Islamabad reportedly painted doomsday scenarios for their leaders. One wrong missile, one botched radar, one misread intent, and cities like Lahore, Amritsar, Karachi, or even Delhi could be reduced to radioactive wastelands. Pakistan's leadership, according to the Washington Post, feared a decapitation strike, one that could wipe out its nuclear chain of command before it could even react. India feared civilian panic, economic collapse, and global sanctions in the event of nuclear exchange. So behind closed doors, both sides agreed. We stop. Now, on May 11, 2025, a fragile ceasefire was declared. It wasn't a handshake, it wasn't a peace treaty, it was a survival pact. Both countries issued vague, non-apologetic statements, but US and UK officials confirmed that the truce was brokered primarily to avoid nuclear escalation, not because either side won. In the words of one Indian diplomat quoted by Al Jazeera, this was not about pride or power. It was about living to fight or talk another day. The May 2025 conflict was a wake-up call. For the subcontinent, nuclear weapons are not deterrents unless both sides fear them equally. For the world, even rational actors can stumble toward annihilation. For leaders, political ego must never outweigh survival instinct. But the most important lesson, nuclear fear works, not as a threat but as a last resort. The ceasefire wasn't about peace, it was about postponing the apocalypse. India and Pakistan may still face each other across a volatile border, but for now, they have stepped back from the brink. And perhaps that terrifying glimpse into the abyss will push them and the world to choose dialogue over destruction the next time. Because if the fear of nuclear war saved the day in 2025, what will save us next time? That's all for now. Do let us know what you think of the story in the comments below and keep watching Lokmat Times.